advance of death for a few moments more. The water was at her ankles now. Her feet were aching, and the dampness seemed to be seeping inside her. The air was getting colder, but she had stopped shivering. Her body had nothing more to give. Now, it was just a matter of time. "I'm sorry, Monty. I can't do this any more." For it to end like this, after all she had gone through, all they had both gone through in the past few days. Once she had believed it would all end well. Monty's notes had said so. Hold on, be brave, we'll make it. But they hadn't. "You didn't make it, Monty. And you left me out here alone, far from the shore, with the sea all around me, coming in to claim me, while the fog hides its sins." Perhaps it would have been better to end it the way Monty had, pushing on into the unknown, the unknowable. But she knew she didn't possess that kind of courage, so she would wait. It would be over soon. Like him, she would simply disappear into the fog, or the water. She had heard splashing once, before the swirling grey blanket had stolen the sounds from her, but there had been no calls. Monty had gone without crying out. It was his way. Be brave. She didn't know why she looked up. For so long her eyes had been cast down towards the water she could only feel, towards her feet that had gone numb inside her shoes. But when she stared ahead, a shape coalesced in the fog, slightly darker than the surrounding greyness, almost human in form. And then she saw the arm, extended in her direction, as the shape advanced towards her through the fog, across the water. Sounds were coming from the form, but she couldn't make them out. She was frightened, confused. It seemed so lifelike, this apparition. She wanted to believe it. The cruelty of her hope stung her. The arm had almost reached her now. It looked real. Flesh and blood she could grasp onto. The sounds, too, started to distill into meaning, penetrating the awful silence of the fog. "Are you alone?" She nodded, still unsure if this spectre was real. "There's no one we should wait for." She shook her head, dumbly. It was a real voice. She knew that now. But it sounded strange, the words odd and distorted. "We have to start moving. We don't have much time." And then she realized what it was about the voice, and tears started to roll down her cheeks. "It's you. Monty said you would come for us. He knew you would." "Take my hand," said the voice. "It's over now." She reached to take the outstretched hand. Chapter 1. Perhaps it was the frame that focused the scene so clearly. Through the single diamond of the chain-link fence, the object seemed thrust towards the viewer in sharp relief. Blocks of shattered concrete, shards of broken piping and twisted metal, mounds of bricks and plaster. Everywhere debris and rubble littered the hard-packed earth in a silent, still-life tableau of destruction. The spring sun was already high, casting shadows that turned the sight into a checkerboard of light and dark. Ridges of hardened earth lay across the ground like healed scars, wounds of an earlier life, when metal blades and heavy industrial tires had moved over the terrain like an army of mechanized invaders, gouging the history of their passing into the landscape as they went. On the far side of the site, a row of scrubby poplar trees traced the boundary. Each cast a narrow finger of shadow, and sunlight fell in bright patches onto the ground between them. Beneath the trees lay the tangled remains of a collapsed fence. A few sparse weeds, dust-covered and water-starved, dotted the hard, stony ground. Pale yellow flowers, trembling uncertainly on thin stalks of washed-out green, provided the only splashes of colour. In the midst of this bleak landscape,